Good morning, and thank you for joining us for our business meeting. This meeting is being recorded. The documents which will be discussed here today are available in the event calendar on our website, which is wmc.wa.gov. They are also available in the handouts section of the webinar. I am Amelia Boyd, and I am the program manager for the Medical Commission. Kayla Bryson and I are the organizers for this meeting. Panelists, please be sure to mute yourself if you are not speaking. Attendees are automatically muted. Please note that anything posted to the chat or questions section is considered public record. We will take public comment at this meeting. Once we get to that item, the chair, Mr. Malden, will read a script and will then ask for public comment. If you would like to comment, please use the raise your hand feature or add your comments to the question section. Our time for public comment is limited, and each speaker is likely to only have about 2 minutes to speak. And with that, I will hand it over to Mr. Malden for his chair report.
Thank you, Amelia. Good morning, everybody. The April 9th, 2021 Washington Medical Commission business meeting is hereby called to order. I have one item on the chair report, and I want to make a few comments about CMT. I received a few comments from fellow commissioners about the CMT, a variety of comments about operation of CMT. So I've been sitting in on CMT and observing, and I have to say that I think that CMT functions fairly well. I think that it's a difficult assignment. Oftentimes we get some complaints that are very easy to make decisions on, and we get some very difficult complaints. And I think the difficult complaints generate a very lively discussion by the participants. And based upon, oftentimes one-sided information and sometimes limited information, I think that the committees in general make the right decision and move forward with either authorizing or closing the cases. So I'd like to thank everybody for participating in CMT and encourage you to continue to sign up. Are there any comments about CMT that anyone would like to make? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the approval of the March 5th, 2021 business meeting minutes and approval of today's business meeting agenda. With that, I will entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
We have a second. Thank you, Dr. Curry. All in favor, signify by saying aye or raise your hand. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is old business. We have committee reports, written committee reports on page 13 of the agenda. Are there any updates, changes, deletions, information for the good of the order with regard to any committee reports? Hearing none, we will move on. Next item on the agenda is the Nominating Committee. The Nominating Committee consists of Drs. Domino and Roberts and Christine Blake. Does the Nominating Committee have a spokesperson?
That would be me.
Okay, Alden?
So we met yesterday, Christine Blake, Karen Domino, and myself. The current occupants of the positions in question are able to continue in their current positions for one more year. The nominating committee would like to nominate John Malden as the chair, Dr. Claire Trescott as the first vice chair, and Dr. Jimmy Chung as second vice chair. They currently occupy those positions, and next year there should be, John will move on and we will need to move things around a little bit. But this year we'd like to continue things the way they are.
Thank you, Alden. Any questions about the decision of the nominating committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to rulemaking. Amelia?
There's nothing further to report outside of what policy committee will talk about and what is on the rules progress report in the packet.
That can be found on page 18 for those who can't wait to read it. Next item is lists and labels. And as we have developed over time, turn this over to Heather to discuss the one request that has been submitted.
Sure. So the one request you have is from Russo CME. It appears they are an educational organization that offers CME, and I would recommend approval.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Carries. I see that I failed to get a motion on the nominating committee report. It says action. I don't know that we need to call for a vote on that or not. Can I have some help?
That was an error.
One-
My apologies.
One
Okay,
thing,
thank you.
John, if anybody has anybody that they would like to nominate, they should submit that. I think we vote on it next meeting, or the May meeting anyway. So if anybody has a name that they would like us to submit, they're encouraged to do so for any of the positions.
Please submit that. Please submit your potential nominees to each of the members of the nominating committee.
Could I say one thing? John, this is Jim Anderson.
I'm sorry, Jim. You have a comment, Jim?
I want to just say one thing. Thank you. I've got a year left, and Teresa's about ready to step off, so we'll have some new faces. But so it doesn't really affect me or Teresa. But I do hope that I do envision a world in which the nominating committee could include a PA, and I think that would be a really important thing to do. And I do also envision a world in which a PA could be nominated for one of those positions. So just a thought as I have a year left. So thank you.
Give your comment. Moving on to public comment. Let me read the script. We'll now begin the portion of the business meeting to take public comment. The purpose is to allow members of the public to directly address the commission on issues of public concern. Please refrain from providing comments on pending or open investigations or disciplinary cases. We will not be answering questions or responding. Staff will be available after the meeting to answer your questions. Please understand that although the time period for comment during the business meeting is limited, the public can attend and provide comment at commission committee meetings. The public can also contact staff during normal business hours. We welcome written comments as well. Each commenter will have 2 minutes to speak. When you comment, please state your name and who you represent. And Amelia, I'll ask if we have anyone signed up to comment.
There are no hands raised and no questions in the question section.
Thank you. This concludes the public comment portion of the meeting. I want to thank you for your, again, you may provide written comments at any time. Thank you. Moving on, next item on the agenda is the policy committee report. We had a lively discussion yesterday. Dr. Domino, would you like to take over?
Sure. We'll start with some of the more non-controversial items. Okay, the first item is policy practitioners exhibiting disruptive behavior. We've seen this several times, and there was some material added in red in your packet, and these were done, I believe, after the Attorney General's office looked at it. Is that right, Mike? Is Mike Farrell there? Well, anyway,
yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and So we approved these changes. The policy committee did, and we recommend that it now go for the secretary review, since this is required of this document, and then it will come back to that. So our policy committee approved going on, forwarding this document for the secretary's review, and I wonder if there's any discussion about this. I don't see any raised hands. I don't necessarily see everyone. So I'd like to take a vote to move this document on for the secretary's review. All in favor? Raise your hand. Great. Anyone opposed? Nope. Okay. That's item 1. The second item is called panel composition. Mike, do you want to tell us why we're seeing this? We've seen this before, and what was done on this document.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. So this is a document to guide the person who's responsible for putting together panels, primarily hearing panels, but as you can see, there's a lot of different types of panels that the commission composes and that you serve on that serve different functions, and the rules are a little bit different for each one. This document came before you last time. It was drafted initially as a guide. A number of years ago, it was made formal and adopted by the commission, and it was done to help the commission make sure that they have experienced people on each of these panels, particularly the hearing panel. It was revised and softened based on comments I got from all of you and some written comments to make it less rigid and a little bit less formal. So it's a lot more flexible. I took out a lot of the shalls and put in shoulds, or even eliminated some requirements. It looks complicated. It's really not. There are a few statutes that apply. There's a case law opinion that applies. There's a rule that applies. They're mentioned in there. I'd like to make a couple little edits if I could, and that is simply to put in footnotes citing the statutes that apply. I realize that there are a few statements in there that are backed by statute that I just like to stick in footnote without bringing it back and wasting your time on this again if I could. But anyway, that's the background of the document.
Thanks, Mike. Our policy committee approved the document as was written. I know, I think it's for those sort of footnotes, a lot of us don't really mind having you add those things, Mike, but we can take a vote on part of the commission members on this. Does anyone have any comments about this document? I don't see any raised hands. So again, policy committee voted to accept this document. The vote we'd like to have here is that we can accept it with minor footnotes that Mike is going to put in. And we're all in favor of this. Can you raise your hand? So it looks like most people, is anyone opposed to this?
Dr. Domino,
Okay.
This is Jimmy Chung. I'm not opposed to it, but I do have a clarifying question, which is whether there is a definition of the panel in terms of where it's specified the role of the chairperson and the role of the reviewing commission member, if they are included in the defined quorum of 3 or more members.
Yes, the reviewing commission member may not sit on a panel. I believe that's by statute. So if they're presenting to a panel, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. A reviewing commission member cannot sit on a hearing panel and when they present to a panel for case reviews, they cannot vote.
Right. So in the statement at the bottom of this document where it says case reviews, the panel will consist of 3 or more members. Those 3 or more members are members who are in addition to the chairperson and the reviewing commission member. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So oftentimes we have people from our panel like leave for policy or something like that, and we're left with just a few commission members. And I think we just need to make sure that we clarify when we say we need to have 3 members, it means 3 members who are able to vote, because the chairperson usually doesn't vote unless there's a tie, and the reviewing commission member shouldn't vote at all. So you probably need 5 people total, and so I just wanted to clarify that when we talk about panel, that means it doesn't include the chairperson or the reviewing commission member.
Okay, and I can make that clear, and that's a good point, Dr. Chung. So that is under case reviews number 1, the panel will consist of 3 or more members. I can add except not including the reviewing commission member or the chair.
I'm not sure you need to exclude the chair though, Michael, because the chair can vote. He just doesn't normally unless there's a tie.
Yeah, I don't want to imply that the chair is non-voting.
Right.
So how about just saying consist of 3 or more members excluding the reviewing commission member? Would that hit your point?
3 or more
Doesn't it
members who are eligible to vote.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense to me why the chair couldn't vote. You know.
There's no legal prohibition against the chair voting.
Yeah, there's nothing that says the chair can't vote. We just by tradition don't, unless there's a tie that needs to be broken.
Which probably doesn't need to be mentioned in the document.
No, that's why I was saying panel consists of 3 or more members who are eligible to vote. Might be a good way to state it.
It already says that the RCM can't vote. Do we need to say it twice?
No, I think what I mean is that when we say the panel will consist of 3 or more members, it doesn't clarify in that first sentence, because otherwise you might have just the chairperson, the RCM, and then one other person. It doesn't say that you have to have 3 or more members who can actually vote.
Jimmy, do you want to see this again, or can Mike just add that?
I think this, if Mike just adds 3 or more members who are eligible to vote, then I think it'll help us clarify in the future. We had this exact same question a while back last year when like half of our panel left for policy committee, and we were left with I think 4, and one of us was the RCM and one was the chair, and it was a little confusing as to whether or not we needed 3 people in addition, or 3 people total, or 3 people who didn't include the chair or what. So I think this would help clarify that situation.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments about this? So can we say we approved it with the revision? Yeah. Yeah, it's in second. All in favor of that? Everyone? Raise your hands. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, thank you. All right, the next one is called Review Procedure for Update, the quarterly newsletter for the Washington Medical Commission. This is a 5-year renewal, an update. Mike, did you make any changes to this document? The document that was in our packet that the policy committee approved was the 2017 document 5 years ago. And so we recommended approval. Does anyone have any comments about this document? I don't see anyone. Then we recommended approval. Can we have a vote for approval of this document for its 5-year renewal? Just raise your hand or say aye. Great. Anyone opposed to this? Seeing none, thank you. We've approved this document. There's something we discussed at policy level. It was this Board of Naturopathy position on naturopaths performing lipoaspiration. We reviewed it. We chose not to really discuss this in the committee. We're not asked for any specific recommendation about it. It was kind of an informational document. And then finally, the document that was added to your packet is quite lengthy. It's dealing with physician assistants in the Washington Medical Commission. We were asked to develop rules for physician assistants to provide, as far as training, to provide general and neuroaxial, which is meaning near spinal or epidural anesthesia in this. Currently, there's a lot of discussion, a lot of interest in this topic due to stakeholders, which include PAs, it includes the nurse anesthetists, and it includes anesthesiologists who are licensed in the state. There were basically, we are going to have we need additional information, and plan is for another rulemaking session on May 12th, and then further discussion at the meeting on May 13th, the policy meeting, and bring it to the whole commission on May 14th. I can just briefly summarize some of the issues that came up and then take any comments. So currently there are no PAs who have exact PA training in the United States providing general anesthesia or neuroaxial anesthesia, as far as we can say. There are PA-like individuals who are trained and they're to provide anesthesia, and they are different than PAs, but they are PA-like in the sense that they're called anesthesiologist assistants. They have differences though in terms of training. They have specialized anesthesia training. They go to college, they have a pre-medical curriculum. They have a 2 to 3 year training that is roughly consistent with the caseload and other things that nurse anesthetists train in. They also differ from regular PAs in that they work from direct supervision / medical direction on site by a practicing anesthesiologist, as opposed to some of the more remote agreements of supervising physicians supervising PAs, because it's direct, hands-on, basically supervision of them. And they don't exist in every state. They exist in less than half of the states where they're licensed. Some are licensed and regulated by the PA Medical Commission, PA boards. Others have a whole separate license things. So this was written in. I can say that some of the issues involved are ones of should PAs be allowed to just have an agreement with an anesthesiologist to provide general or regional anesthesia without this special care, a special expertise, and the answer that nurse anesthetists and I think the anesthesiologists believe is that this would impair patient safety. The other issue comes in that they don't fit into necessarily the PA system, in that the whole agreements with PAs are very different in terms of their practice and their supervision level. PAs generally can't even bill Medicare and Medicaid for providing general or regional anesthesia, whereas anesthesiologist assistants can. So that, and let me also say there's a lot of interest among the anesthesiologists in the state and the state Society of Washington State Society of Anesthesiology, in that, and to be able to allow people, physician anesthesiologists who are working in the operating room, to be able to have a PA-like person that they're working with in a care team model. So that's kind of a summary of what I heard from the meeting, and I'm happy to open it up to anyone who'd like to have a discussion of this. Jim. I don't know if we hear you. I don't.
You're muted, Jim.
Looks like he's working on it.
Okay. Thanks for your description of that. It was certainly a very nuanced conversation. Some of the things that you raised, I think, were hit on what occurred yesterday. I don't think we need to go into too much detail here, because unless people are interested, and if they are, they can ask us. But I do think that you've said PA-like. There are these PA-like anesthesiology assistants, and I'm not really exactly sure how they are like PAs. They're not trained as PAs. PAs have a very unique training based on the medical model. So I'm concerned about that description of this conversation. And I would say that the wording that was come up with for the rules was something that, it's my understanding, was a result of negotiations and collaboration between the State PA Association, WAPA, between the nurse anesthetists, and between WISMA. And so I think it's important to note that too. But as we move forward, we'll talk more about this, and we'll come up with something that hopefully makes everybody happy. Thank you.
Yeah, the term, I apologize if that term's offensive. It's hard to know, they're different specialties, really, is what the issue is. They don't fit in the PA. They don't have the PA training. They have a different training. I guess what I said is PA, quote, like, is they don't go to nursing school. They haven't had the experience of being an intensive care nurse. They don't go to medical school. What they do is they have a pre-medical training and go to a program that's directed only towards the anesthesiologist assistant training that does provide specialized anesthesia training. And the schools that do have them, I think there are 11 or so schools, they're run out of medical schools. So it is different, and I don't know how. I mean, that is one of the issues there. So thank you for bringing that up.
And it's also important to note that many PAs are nurses. Many PAs come from their nursing background. I want to note that.
Any other, Claire? Yes.
Yeah, I think the having PA in there at all is what makes this very confusing and controversial paragraph, because this isn't a PA subspecialty. It isn't a component of PA work. It's a separate specialty, kind of like a perfusionist. They don't have to be under some other name. And I think that one of the reasons this got controversial is putting the PA in there, because then it seemed much more expansive, and that you could then bring in all kinds of PAs and different ways of using it. If it's just a paragraph about that subspecialty of anesthesia, or that component of anesthesia practice without the word PA in it, I think it would be a lot more acceptable overall. So anyway, I guess that's a conversation for the rules meeting in May.
Well, Well, Claire, I hope you come to the rulemaking, and we'd like anyone to come. I mean, it needs a broader input in this type of statement and the wording. John, did you have a question or comment? Did I see you wave your hand?
You did, yeah. The only thing I wanted to point out that seemed to be the focal point of the conversation yesterday from interested parties and the policy committee focused on the educational component of the paragraph. Without any specificity, it just talks about adequate training. So probably needs to be more defined sometime in the future. And maybe that'll come up during the next rulemaking session that's scheduled the day before our next meeting, as I recall.
Yeah, that's why it got deferred, to be able to allow people to be on board with, to have an understanding of what this truly involves, and to be able to think about it and come up with the most appropriate thing. I mean, it's ranged from just remove all the training requirements, which is a concern to some because of patient safety and entrepreneurial activities. On the other hand, then the concern of putting in any specific training, which is different from and not, and not even in our state from a PA training level is a problem as well. So it's complicated, and we appreciate people's input. From my understanding is that they may, the State Society of Anesthesiology that we, in our state, may be trying to create a separate specialty in a sunrise activity. I don't know if that will happen or not, but it is a lot of states have been doing this for a specialized master's level healthcare provider working underneath a physician anesthesiologist in a care team model.
Diana, you have
John?
So I just want to,
sorry,
just register this my comment, which is that I feel like all PAs that have a collaborative agreement, practice agreement with their physician have an understanding of what the scope of practice for that PA is, and the physician has to make decisions about what that PA can do. And while anesthesia is arguably a very important and potentially acute kind of minute-to-minute, situation where you might want to have the MD available at all times, not remote, at least maybe in a facility, I kind of feel like, a neurosurgery PA or other specialty PAs also do handle patients that could be considered minute-to-minute, life and death, whatever. There is, I feel like there is within the practice agreement the capacity to have the physician make a determination about the abilities of that PA and allow them to work as all other PAs work, even within anesthesia. I hear what you're saying about the kind of entrepreneurial side, like people could abuse this and that potentially would impact patient safety. But I also think that could happen in any specialty. So I'm kind of struggling to understand why we're teasing out anesthesia especially and not neurosurgery or any other specialty. So that's all my thoughts.
Yeah, thanks for your comments. Alden?
I have two comments. First, I think this is the kind of discussion that we need to have at the Rules Committee that's coming up. And the second is that anesthesia is a little different in that it is commonly under significant influence by hospital administration. And I think that puts a potential risk that doesn't exist where the PAs are more directly responsible to the physician that employs them. These could easily enough be sent someplace where there isn't an anesthesiologist, and that would be another worry that I would bring up. But I think this is the kind of discussion that needs to happen at the Rules Committee meeting, and it's important that we consider all possible aspects of this as we're developing the rules.
Jim, did you have another comment before?
No, thank you. No, I don't.
John, did you have a comment there?
I just have a curiosity question for Jim and Teresa. I was wondering if the PA Association has some sort of a anesthesiology training protocol, or is there a recommended course that the PA Association endorses?
I would take a crack at that, and Teresa, I'd like to hear what you have to say too. But no, you know, the PA profession is one of the hallmarks of the PA profession is PAs being trained as generalists and not having specialty training. It's a very hot topic within the PA profession, to be sure. However, the PA profession is sort of built on PAs being generalists, and there's been efforts over the years to try and add specialty certification for this and that and psychiatry and whatever. But basically, the profession has really wanted to avoid that. I know that there's, I think in our discussion, and I think Alden, you're right, maybe some of this needs to be deferred to when we meet again. In the discussion we had recently, there were some concerns by colleagues on the commission that maybe PAs need to be, we need to move toward having PAs certified in all kinds of specialties. And this would be a major change. And I think it would be we've spent decades on the commission moving away from that. I think that would be a major mistake. So that's a long answer. That's a long way to provide a short answer, which is like, no, there are no known certification for PAs. I do know that there are some PAs in their profession who have decided to become anesthesiology assistants. I don't think it's very many, but I do know from asking around with others who know more than I do about this that's what some people have done. And one of the reasons they've done that is because it specifies elsewhere very clearly in the CMS rules, for example, that PAs are not eligible for reimbursement for general anesthesia or intrathecal anesthesia. And so that to me is another reason why we don't need this specificity in this rule, because those things are spelled out elsewhere, and I don't think the rule should have that level of specificity for this or any other specialty. Thank you. Hope that answers your question, John.
Yeah, Jim, thank you.
Well, if there are no other comments, then anyone else? Otherwise, well, please do, if you are interested in this topic. We could use a lot of input on this from the commission stance and different points of view, and it will be on May 12th.
Dr. Domino, this is Amelia. So it may be on May 12th. I sent an email out yesterday to all the commissioners and to our contacts at the associations who are interested in this rulemaking, and put in a link to a doodle poll for them to select their availability over the next, I think, 4 weeks. So it could be any day. I had chosen May 12th because it was the day before our next meeting, but then I got to thinking, well, if Jim's not available or Teresa's not available, we need those folks there. So whatever day everyone is, the most people are available, that's the day we will have it. So look out for that email. Please respond.
Good. The other thing is, and I know I received quite a few letters from my UW email. I was CC'd on things that came to you guys. I think it's helpful to provide whatever background information that folks have to. I know you tried to. The Washington State Society of Anesthesiologists didn't have a lot of this stuff when we've had the rule making the other day, and it would be good to provide it to folks so they can have an understanding of what all is being talked about here and the different viewpoints in it.
Every comment we've received over the last few days will be part of that next workshop.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks so much. All right, that's all of the policy report.
Claire, you have a comment? I think you're muted.
I have a question about procedure. I like the comment from naturopaths about stem cell and adipose tissue. How did that get into our policy conversation? Who submitted that, and what's the process for getting something into a policy? I'm just curious.
It went through, I asked Mike Farrell to put it on the policy committee as a request from Heather Carter.
So, I mean, did the naturopaths ask us to do something about it, or?
No, they did not.
Where did it come from originally?
It came through my communications manager, Stephanie Mason. We believe it was from the Medical Association.
From the Washington State Medical Association?
Yes.
Huh. I'm just curious because, I mean, I don't know what evidence there is about the stem cell process with adipose tissue and what they use it for and how something gets into our policy. So if like a medical association requests it, that would be one way.
No, they didn't request it go through policy. I requested it go through policy. So it has to go through Mike Farrell to get onto the policy committee. So it went through me and I requested Mike Farrell to put it on the policy committee so that you could discuss it. That's the only vehicle I have to get it in front of the commission usually.
Okay. Good to know. Because I think for something like this, Karen, you guys are going to be sorry you got me on the policy committee. I can tell already. But something like this, it'd be really nice for us to have a little literature background in making the decision. Anyway, I think that we might look at that at some point.
Well, to get it, I mean, the policy committee could have said, we want more background, we want to discuss this at a later date, and then that would have been my marching orders to get more information. But the policy committee chose to not take action on it at this time, so it's just been tabled. But that's kind of how we kind of get the conversation started sometimes, is through that venue.
Okay. So we could request some background literature on this, how they're using it and why. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there other comments with regard to the policy committee report? Thank you, and thank you, Dr. Domino. Let's move on to member reports. I can't see everyone, so if you have a comment to make, just go ahead.
This is Teresa Schimmels. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Teresa.
Good morning, everyone. Just a couple of things. Hopefully everybody's getting signed up for their COVID vaccines if they're interested in doing that. I see that in Spokane County now, or in Eastern Washington, they're actually having a mass vaccination areas going on. So if you're interested in doing that, that's wonderful. I did that for about 6 or 8 weeks at the VA, where we have approximately 74% of our employees vaccinated, and we are open now to veterans and their spouses and or caregivers. All VA facilities are. So check if you know somebody that hasn't had their vaccination yet for COVID and would like to get one. They can call their local VA hospital or clinic and get set up with a time. And then, like as I said, they're going to start doing spouses and caregivers as well. Secondly, I wanted to let all of you know that we're interested, that my nephew, Joe Dahl, from the Detroit Lions has officially retired. It's a medical retirement. He put 5 years in, so he is vested in the NFL system, but he will likely not be playing this last year as he is out for medical. So for those of you that were football fans and were following his career over the past few years, I wanted to make sure you knew that. He's pretty banged up, as most professional football players get after 3 or 4 years. His head is still on the right spot so far, so we're very thankful for that. And the rest of him is pretty worn out, so he's going to take a little bit of time off. But thanks for your support of him, and darn those Zags. Thanks, John.
Teresa, your cousin is probably better off to be getting out now than like in 10 years. So that may be the best thing for his head and everything else.
Yeah, and he's a smart kid. He graduated with honors with a business degree. He might go back to school to go get his engineering degree, which is what he initially went to college for. He missed one math question on his SATs, so the guy's got some future.
Great.
Yeah,
Always good to hear that athletes can do something after their career ends. That's great. Are there other, Claire?
Oh, I just wanted to say, Teresa, that the Zags gave us the best Final Four game I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a better ending of a basketball game. So they have nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, that UCLA game was something else.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was an
Amazing.
incredible experience. I think I went down and spent my first weekend away, my first holiday in 13 months with some cousins a couple hours south of town here on the Palouse. And I think about 5 of us needed to have AEDs connected to us in those last 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. I know, I was watching that game and it's like that last shot, I jumped out of my chair and said, what?
I know, we were screaming at my house, so.
Great game. Other comments from commissioners? Okay, let's move on to staff reports. As you know, the staff reports, written reports are on page 15. Are there additional comments, edits, changes to any of the staff reports? Melanie?
I don't have any changes. I do want to give you a couple of updates. Micah should be back to work around the 1st of May. So I will be glad when he gets back to work. Yay. And the other thing, maybe, yeah. The other thing, Amelia, if you could take a minute and kind of go over how to get on as a panelist, because we keep having commissioners not show up as panelists, and so that impacts their ability to speak at these meetings and our ability to see their faces. So Amelia, could you kind of give a little bit of a primer on how to do that? I mean, I see your faces here, but there are many more commissioners, I hope, that are in the audience, but they should actually be, we should be able to see them and hear them.
So if a commissioner joins the meeting accidentally or whatever as an attendee, I always convert them over immediately. I watch that attendees list like a hawk. So I always convert them over immediately. Dr. Wones had some issues this morning. For some reason, even after I converted him, he was still in listen only mode. But the way you join as a panelist is through that email that you receive that says, it usually looks like it's from me. It's really from the GoTo system. And it says, you are a panelist for the business meeting. And it has a link that says join webinar. And you have to click that to join as a panelist. So if you are a commissioner, you will never have to register to attend the business meeting. So if you go to register for the business meeting, know that that is not the way you will join as a panelist. So if you end up as an attendee, because we did have a couple today that did end up as attendee, and it looks like they just didn't use that link. And also in the email I send with the all the information about the meeting that tells you the packets available, we created a little video that shows you how to add that panelist email to your calendar, because I know Dr. Roberts had expressed before that he couldn't find that panelist email because Outlook gobbles it up and throws it away. I don't know what it does with it, but you can add it to your calendar, and then it's always there on your calendar. As long as you know how to get to your calendar in Outlook. It's usually just a little icon at the bottom that looks sort of like a calendar. So, but if you have trouble, typically I'm not in my email when we're doing these meetings. So like Dr. Wone sent me a message through the chat. So that was good, except that I didn't see it in time. So, but I was able to convert him over right away, and I'm not sure why he had some trouble. And then he even got the email and clicked the link to join the meeting as a panelist, and it still didn't work. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we were able to get him to where he could use his camera and such. So, but if you have any questions about that, just reach out to me. I'm not sure why it's problematic, but you will never have to register for the business meeting if you are a commissioner.
Amelia, it was extremely helpful that you sent an email out this morning that had the links on it. And thank you very much for doing that. That made life a whole lot easier. And yes, you can put it on your calendar, and yes, that does work.
Okay.
You do have to not be going through the virtual desktop though, or it doesn't work well.
Oh, that's good to know.
Thank you, Mr. Mullen. That's all I have.
Sorry, I was muted. Any comments from commissioners with regard to the staff reports? All right, let's move on to the Heather report.
Yeah, and I just have a very quick reminder, refresher about commissioners sort of doing their own little side investigations or Google searches on things. Just wanted to remind you that as a commissioner, you have authority to direct an investigation, which means you can help an investigator with maybe what they need to collect or what might be most helpful. But try and resist the urge to Google the physician or Google the patient and get some side information. That can create problems in sort of making you now a witness or a fact witness. It can also jeopardize some of potentially some immunity. So just try and resist the urge to Google people. You can, of course, like look up maybe a condition or a procedure or some medical issue if you want to, like, oh, I can't remember, you know, what that's all about. You can refresh your memory that way. But we just ask that you refrain from Googling, you know, patients or the respondents, so that we can keep those lines of investigation clean. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. That's a good reminder for everyone. Well, we moved through the agenda fairly quickly. Any other specific or general items that anyone would like to bring up or discuss at this point in time?
I wanted to ask Terry Murphy what your dog's name is. Very cute dog, very cute dog.
That's Mindy Murphy Becker.
You have to say all three names when you call it your dog?
No. She's Princessa here.
She's really cute.
Thank you. I had a question about the commission computers and who do we contact on the east side of the state to get ours?
Mike Hively will be providing you with the name of that person. I think his first name is Stephen, but there's an IT person that works out of the Spokane office, and you will get information when and where to go pick yours up. And then Hively will contact you to do some one-on-one training as well, because there's some things he wants to show you once you get your computer.
Thank you.
I have to say that once the setup was complete and there's brief learning experience, that the commission computers work pretty darn good. I haven't had to call Mike in a long time, and that's really unusual. Not that I don't like talking with him, but it's been a positive experience so far. Except for Alden, he has issues.
Yeah, I have to say I have had nothing but trouble. I cannot get my Department of Health computer to work, and I'm having to go back and forth. This is the second computer that I'm on. It doesn't recognize PDFs at all. It doesn't let me work on PDFs, and it has a 0 download speed and a 0 upload speed. So it's, as I say, I have spent hours with IT and have not been able to get this to work.
Starting to sound like maybe we've got some user error issues, maybe.
I have given over use of the computer at a distance to both IT and Mike Hively, and they can't get it to work either. So I don't think this is user error.
Obviously, I'm kidding, Alden.
All right.
I will say though, just a shout out to all y'all. This has been a Hively free meeting. So you guys are on, you are connected, and we all survived. I was a little skittish about that, but we've made it through. So yay.
Teresa?
I just have a question for Amelia. There's quite a few of us that are going off of the commission in the next few months or year. And what's the procedure for becoming a pro tem? Is that an invitation? Is that something we apply for? How does that work?
So first, you're not rolling off until your replacement's named, just FYI. So
I did know that, but I wanted you to present that as a whole so people were aware of that, since we have some newer commissioners on.
So typically the way the pro tems work is that most of our clinical commissioners become pro tems automatically, unless they let me know that they don't want to be. Usually if they're a public member, we will keep them on as a pro tem if they have a case. And then after that first year, unless we have a request from staff, we don't keep them on as a pro tem, because the public member pro tems do not get new cases usually. So, but yeah, we will automatically usually make any clinical, any MD or PA automatically will become a pro tem. However, I think I found in our records, Teresa, that you served as a pro tem previously. So I think you did 2 years, and so you would have 2 years as a pro tem if you wanted to.
Right. Back in, I think, 2000, I was on for 2 years as we updated the first update of the 20th century, 21st century, 22nd century. Where are we?
21st.
21st. Thank you. The PA rules. I was brand new out of school and helping with that way back when. So got a little memory there. My other question is do we have, either you or Melanie, do we have some candidates? I know that the governor's office is slow because of, this, that, and the other things, specifically COVID. But do we have some candidates for those open positions? Are you aware of?
So the application deadline was March the 31st for the vacancies that we have coming up July 1. And I have not requested those applications yet because a couple of people contacted me and asked if we could extend that deadline. So I haven't requested those from the governor's office yet. I will say that both Dr. Domino and Dr. Trescott were up for reappointment last summer, and they still have not been reappointed. So we are still waiting to hear about reappointments. And then, as you know, Dr. Harrison's position is vacant and has been for over a year now. And we're still waiting on them to announce who that person will be. And then Dr. Howe left, and then Candy left. And so we have those 2 positions vacant, and we're still waiting to hear about those. So That's just to let you know that you and Dr. Lewis may be on the commission even after July 1 for 6 months, a year? I don't know. Yes, Dr. Trescott.
I did just, thank you for reminding me, Amelia. I did just get some congratulations about reappointment from the governor's office.
See,
And
you
I
guys
have
always know before I do.
and I have to get my sworn thing has to be notarized and go back to them. So now I might be the be holding it up, but it just came in the last couple weeks.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so did mine, and I haven't dealt with it yet either.
Okay, excellent. That is good news. That means they are doing something over there.
Right.
Jim?
Just to clarify, hold
sorry.
on, Jim. Just to clarify the pro tem, even with clinicians, if we will appoint them as a pro tem because of their specialty. So that's another consideration. If we have multiple commissioners who have the same specialty, they might not get as many cases assigned to them as a pro tem because we go to the full commissioners first. So just an FYI.
Right, right.
Amelia, do you have a lot of candidates?
I don't know yet because I haven't pulled those applications yet, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. I just have had requests from people I work with about the commission, and I didn't know if you wanted referrals from us or not.
For pro tem, certainly we are looking for 3 specialties, which was in the packet, and offhand, I don't remember what they are. Let's see. We're looking for radiologists, psychiatrists, and ophthalmologists for pro tems.
Okay.
So Amelia, you may have answered my question at the have a drink with the commission thing we had last week. There was a question from a PA who I believe is a pro tem for the osteopathic board, which is soon to be, I believe, no longer in existence. And he was wondering if he's interested in being a pro tem, to whom would he express that interest? And I wasn't exactly sure what to tell him.
So they can reach out to me.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'll tell him that.
There is no longer going to be an osteopathic board?
No, the PAs, we are, the medical commission will be, they will just be PAs. They'll no longer be DO PAs and then allopathic PAs. So we're taking all of the DO PAs as of July 1.
Sorry, I said that wrong, but thanks for clarifying that, Amelia.
Are there other comments? Hearing none, we are adjourned early. Thank you all for participating.
Thank you.
Bye.
I am sorry I'm late. I thought I look at the calendar and start at 9 o'clock.